Okay, this is a commentary on a video regarding Ranty and this picture of Blackpool Tower and some small mountains further away. This is a zoomed in picture, just so we remember that. Blackpool Tower, I believe, is about 12 or 13 miles from wherever the observer was. And those mountains are about 38 miles from the observer. Now, Baldy and Ruhif and Ranty can't seem to understand why the mountains look lower than the tower. Now, this is simple perspective. The tower is closer. The mountains are further. Closer, larger, further, smaller. It's natural perspective. There's nothing mystical or magical about this. The mountains didn't drop because of curvature. It's just simple perspective. There's Blackpool Tower, not zoomed in. I believe this picture came from Try Thinking. This is how we normally would see it. It's small because it's 13 miles away, and those mountains are way smaller. They're 38 miles away. Remember, Globies. Closer, bigger, further, smaller. This is simple. It's not hard to remember. It's easy to understand. It's simple perspective. Now here's a picture. Those mountains are maybe 60, 70 miles away behind that tree, the big tree in the middle there. Now the tree is maybe a couple miles from where I am. It's early morning. Sun hasn't risen yet. It's getting closer though. Now the Sierra Nevada mountains, I mean, that's a big mountain range. So I would say those mountains back there, at least 7,000, 8,000 feet, probably higher, but they're far. So natural perspective has them looking smaller than the tree that's close by. Now, if you just pay attention to those other trees that are to the left, they're further. They're probably a couple miles further away. Further, smaller. Closer, bigger. Simple perspective. Everybody should know that. So anyhow, this is a similar thing to Ranty's Blackpool Tower that he doesn't seem to understand, and neither do the rest of his globy friends. There's nothing difficult about this. When I look at those mountains in the background here, I know they're much higher than that tree. Even by perspective, it's obvious. It's obvious the tree is much closer by. So anyhow, it's simple perspective. Globies need to remember, close equals bigger, far equals smaller. Let's say I took that tree in the middle there and I slid it further towards those mountains, on rails or something. It would become increasingly smaller and be below the tops of those mountains. But here's another idea. Wonder if I just simply elevated and went straight up. Now the tree would be below the mountains. The mountains would be much higher than the tree, because that's what simple perspective does. Just like Blackpool Tower would. If I could take this Blackpool Tower in this picture and slide it closer to the mountains, it would decrease in angular size, apparent angular size, not actual. I know you globies are really particular. You would say, oh, you think it actually gets smaller. No, it just appears to compress with distance. Increasing distance compresses the image. If you slid that tower on a rail towards those mountains, it would go below the peaks. Or if you went higher, if you went much higher than the tower would look lower than the mountains, which were further away, because you have a different angle. It's simple perspective. Globies never seem to understand this, and they think flat earthers are dumb.